Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV on Bread in My Hands is Worm by Edel Rodriguez. This is a Cuban American Odyssey. It's about Rodriguez's journey from Cuba to the United States and to become one of the, I would say, a pretty prominent and well-known political artist, cartoonist, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, I mean, it's the story of Cold War Cuba to today. It's amazing. I mean, this is the type of graphic novel that I'm excited when I hear about and love to read, and I'm always pumped when it meets my already high expectations. This exceeded my expectations. The vast majority of the book, I would say at least half, maybe two-thirds of it, is Rodriguez's time in Cuba. That's roughly the 70s. I think he leaves in 1980. And you get to learn about the revolution, the post-revolution. I mean, it leads up a little bit about the revolution, but it's his life in Cuba. And, the somewhat good, a lot of bad, but, you get a really good sense of what it was like to live there. Now, I've read a lot about Cuban Revolution and, the corruption that happened afterwards and these, ideals that, of course, melted away. But, the day-to-day experiences is not something that I've ever read about or learned or anything. So this is very eye-opening for me, and I think it's really educational in that way. You then get to see the transition of the story to his family wanting to get out and getting out on the boat lifts in 1980. I was all of one at that time, and I mean, growing up in the 80s, it's images that you saw at points, and there was various waves of boats that came to the United States. So, I'm familiar with some of them and have some of those images in my mind. But, it's kind of it was the time I grew up. So to me, there's some excitement about learning about that history. I know a decent amount. I knew that Fidel Castro opened up the jails and got rid of criminals. He got rid of gays and transgender individuals and sent them all to the U.S. That there was a spike of crime because of that a lot of criminals just went back to their criminal ways. So it's a very interesting history overall. And what's fascinating is when you kind of get to that point, it's hard not to reflect on today. And Rodriguez doesn't totally dive into it. I think he hints at it, but it's kind of interesting today. We have waves of immigration coming from South and Central America to get to the United States. We, of course, have a massive wave of anti-immigrant of sentiment. And the reality is, like the Cubans, we could take them. I think the numbers thrown in here is I don't remember if it's the original, but at some point it's 125,000 Cubans made the trip. And we could take 125,000 Cubans at that point in time, and they, became great members of society. So I mean, it's interesting. It's a really interesting kind of reflecting on that and reflecting on what's going on today. And Rodriguez takes us through becoming this artist, getting a job at Time magazine, and then creating political art that you would know if you saw during Trump's presidential run, or not run, but his whole election. And what's interesting is at that point we get a reflection of that time period, and I'd say roughly the five years afterward from Trump running to now, and how it reflected a lot of what was going on in Cuba. How a lot of the actions were similar, a lot how of the language was similar, a lot of the the authoritarianism was there, and I think it's fascinating. I think what's also fascinating is the reaction to Rodriguez's art, which doesn't go over well with a lot of his family members, who see that as an attack on basically a country that welcomed them. And from there, you can kind of start understanding the right-wing lurch of some communities that makes absolutely no sense in the long run. But it's all there, and it's just a really interesting, I think, snapshot and understanding of today's politics, history, and this person's amazing story. And it gets to the end, and there is a gut punch of an end when you really get the truth of why his father was so insistent on them leaving. It's something that's not told throughout 290 something pages, roughly. Yeah, almost 290 pages, 275 pages. And it gets to that end, and the father just talks to his son as to why they left Cuba, and it's one of those where your jaw drops. But in the end, this is about family. This is about parents trying to do what's right for their kids. One of those kids becoming super successful. It's history. It's amazing read. There's moments in here that are just, I think, so eye-opening and so detailed and such amazing information, and it really gives you kind of a snapshot of what it was like to live in Cuba at this point in time, and then what it was like to kind of transition to this new home, and then reflecting on this new home when it lurches right towards authoritarianism. This is an amazing graphic novel. I mean, if you grew up in the 80s, if you kind of want to remember, or not really remember, but learn what happened, and be reminded about the boat lifts and all that history, like, this is just, it's wonderful. This is so good. I've been saying a lot lately. I mean, to me, we're wrapping up in the year, and I feel like I can say it more and more. I mean, to me, this is on a list of one of my best. This is part of my best of list for the year. It's educational, eye-opening, heart-wrenching, it's just fantastic. It is American history and Cuban history through the eyes of an individual. Just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You can go get it. This is out in comic shops. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. It'll tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We do have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so you get a small percentage, and by doing that, you'll support our site. So thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank Henry Holt for hooking us up with this review copy. Metropolitan Books as well. And thank you all for watching. If you are into comics, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.